contemplate on that situation is that if you are no longer required to find bugs, what else we can do as a testers? A question which we need to try to answer that. Find information. This is probably a softer way of saying that I don't find bugs, but I find information that no one is concerned about or no one worries about, no one knows how to find out. If you are finding some situations unlikely the product is going to meet in production, how one can take care of that? You can be useful to the team in that sense if you're not finding defects. That is one thing that we do, one thing that we should keep doing given the changed circumstances. Bust product myths. James Buck once very famously said, we are not in the business of assuring something. Testers, good testers. We are in the business of breaking that myth, breaking the confidence in the product which somebody might have in a false way. So in a way, we are confidence breakers, not confidence boosters. Again, a mindset of evil, negative, destructive thinking tester. Right? We are ones who will say, if something you think that it works in specific way, wait a minute, I will figure out a way, I will figure out a situation where it doesn't work. Then you get into a business discussion whether that scenario is likely to happen or not, should I worry about it or not. But fundamentally, testers are in the business of not assuring particularly, but in the business of breaking a false confidence about the product. Collaborative developers. This has been a theme of last decade or so, where, as it is mentioned in the U-Test post, we don't work against the developers. We work with them. The fundamental mindset that we need to find mistakes in developers' work goes against us, goes against the team spirit. Agile teams where dev and test work together, they have a role. They don't have a role called tester. They don't have something which is fixed they don't have a person called fixed as a tester, but they have team members. In turn, some people take a responsibility of testing and the same person is going to write a code tomorrow. Right? If that is a dominant pattern that is emerging now, you no longer work against developers, but you work with developers. Okay? That is what testers do, or that's what testers should be doing. Be adaptive and useful to the team. Even if you are not testing, you can do some work as a part of the team to help the product to be released quicker is a collaborative stand that testers can take. Given our very forceful education as tester finding bugs only, we have forgotten this rule and we always work against the tide. We always say that the testers are the people who are going to stop the release because if they are not signing off the release will not go away. But there are cases where, in fact, most of the time the release does go away, but we still have that stigma that this is the guy who is stopping the release. So you get that negative thing. Once we know what testers do, let's look at what challenges we have in our performing our roles. A quick thing, time, speed versus quality. Julian touched about it. One thing I would say, this is my personal opinion, I could be wrong here. Speed has taken over the quality as a prime criteria for releases today, the applications today. There are exceptions. Somebody will stand up and say, oh, in my world, medical domain's world, quality is still the top, speed is secondary. But given the business situation that we are in, if a CEO or if a business head of a group or a company were to take call between, should I release now, set up a team for fixing the bugs, or should I take another month, test it thoroughly and release later? So there is a tendency of the business today, all are driven by stock markets and things like that. There's a tendency to give priority to speed than a quality. There can be no better example than Microsoft, who have mastered this art of releasing something, maybe little bugs here and there, gave it to the hands of the thing, capture the eyeballs, capture the community which will vouch for the product and use the product and improve the product in the background. Which means that the whole idea that we have to test and release with absolutely best quality is no longer in fashion. But still, our textbooks, our education And everything that we get in, the majority of that education goes in the direction that we must be doing testing in the old way, the cave way of doing testing. Agreed. No, what I'm trying to say here is that the tendency in the today's market has been, with all the due diligence that you talked about, RCB and all that, will happen. Somebody is in that meeting where you take a decision of go or no go, he is going to override in the interest of grabbing the business. If there are issues, I have personally been party to some of the discussions where there have been 2, 3, save 2 defects. Our quality criteria says there should be no open save 2 defects for go release. What we did, we downgraded the severity from down. Right? Those things happen, and few of us could vouch for it. The point here is that we no longer should keep beating the drum that I am a quality guy. I need to do the sign off before it goes. I am not suggesting that those due diligence will go away, but due diligence at some point of time would be overridden by the business prudence, and the business prudence says release most of the time, release first, improve later, release first, improve later, and that is kind of confirmed by the things like testing in production, because you need to get something out quickly. You have capability today's world to change the product several times a day, improve it and fixing it. Testing cycles have shrunk from months to days, a few hours. Yesterday I met one of my old friends where he says that he has a problem of testing one app every day, and his team of 2, 3 people are doing that for last 1.5 years. They have tested more than 1,500, 2,000 apps, one each day. If your testing cycle is this short, where do we go and search for answers that have I met my exit criteria? The all thick process documentation that you shall do this goes right away into dustbin, at least in terms of thinking, not physical. So we are into that. We are into the today's world like this. Let us not shy away from accepting this. The moment you accept this, you can change your behavior to align to the new world. Okay, your question is? What kind of quality criteria you are setting it up is? There are certain standards which are aligned to that one-day cycle. I'm not saying there are no standards. There are standards that are aligned to one-day cycle, and that one-day cycle has been imposed as a business imperative for the team. And now they are asking the question, and the whole discussion was, if one-day testing were to be done, and this is a repetitive kind of a thing to be done, what kind of skills the tester should need? That's how the whole thing went into that direction. Now, your question, probably I'll take it offline, but the point I'm trying to make here is that there's a shrinking cycle. Quality standard is something which is plugging into that, should be plugging into that. If you're not plugging into that, people will ignore quality standard. If you are still, I know you are still not convinced, but let us take it and we'll finish the. So challenges are time, speed, quality, fight stigma. People think that testing is blocking, a blocker. So we need to think about and doing ways to come out of that. Communicating the bad news is tough. We are communicating bad news that this doesn't work. The release will not go away. There are showstopper bugs in this area. We need to still talk about how it is going to happen. Irrational expectations. Probably 1 day per testing cycle of 1 day with whatever quality criteria you have is an irrational expectation from the business stakeholders. But it is, and we have to deal with it. Among all, the biggest challenge I think is this. Let's, for one last time, shout at the top of your voice, testing is not a factory work. We borrow all the, in fact, the whole wholesale lift of the words from the engineering or manufacturing world, all the likes of TQM, Six Sigma and all that, we lift those ideas from this factory. And we think that software has to be engineered. What does it mean is it has to be following the principles that the manufacturing industry assembly line follows. We tend to forget the idea that what we're dealing with is not very much like the machine that we are assembling. It is a computer program done by the people, changed by the people. Only one change is you can't recall back the software. There used to be a time where they recall the CDs, but now it is not possible. You just download from the net and you install. If the software is buggy, they'll put another patch there, right? The people who get the metaphor of factory are doing one thing wherein they're saying they are forgetting the fact that it is a machine, it's some kind of a physical thing. We are dealing with an abstract thing, and software is not a, if you think about software as an engineering, we are thinking of software as an engineered product, which very much like a car or a machine. But the software program is a program that operates in a system of people, done by the people, used by the people, and lot of people equations around it. And by calling it as an engineering, we are throwing away the bigger sensitive part of the people or a social context of the software out of the equation. We tend to isolate these parameters and think about software as an engineering thing. And the moment you say engineering, all the analytics and mathematics and statistics and all the things come, which remove the people from the equation. Removing the people from the equation is what is going to lead us the problem. And if we don't properly align to the flow that we are going, we will become obsolete and we will become out. Okay, this is my viewpoint. Testing is more like works of Socrates. Thinking, questioning, analyzing what it is and trying to understand and make a knowledge out of it. Bhimsen Joshi, the performative, the improvisation that brings that when the person is performing, the kind of changes that he makes when looking at how things are building up and all that, the skill of improvisation is missing in testing. And that is something which we need to bring in. That is where we are talking about. Testing is more like performing. Martial arts. Yeah. Martial arts, the kind of awareness and alertness likes of Bruce Lee demonstrate when they are performing in their thing. The alertness, the mind alertness, the activities. So I'm talking about brain aspects here. I'm not talking about aspects of engineering. I'm not talking of engineering. When I'm talking about people, I'm talking about people as humans. Humans with emotions, cognitive capabilities, cognitive shortcomings. And that is related to mindset. Sherlock Holmes, I need not explain how Sherlock Holmes is important to testers' life, and he is a hero of Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is a hero for us. Richard Feynman, those who don't know, just go and look up and see that guy. I wanted to show a video, but with the lack of time, I skipped that thing. Look at this person, read his biography. He is one of the very famous scientists who taught what it means to think creatively. Come back to the final topic. Mindset is an autopilot behavior, which is a default behavior for you. The moment something is given to you, the way you react is default. I have had experiences when I start from the house and I take a problem in my mind, I start driving, I go through the roads and reach the office gate. Then suddenly security stops and asks me to show my identity card. That whole distance of 10 kilometers, I didn't realize that I was driving, because my mind has gone into an autopilot mode. I'm just doing this. All my instincts are stopping at the signal. I'm not dashing anybody. I'm not doing any wrong things in the driving. But at the background, my mind is thinking about a product that about a problem that I'm going to solve once you go. So, mindset, when you say a tester mindset, you think about that subconscious mind, your thinking pattern that you do not know that it operates. That is testing mindset. Mindset, and we have to apply for testing, is a manifestation of habits, attitudes, beliefs, and values. That's what is characterizing a mindset. We have, the word mindset is associated with many things. There is a men mindset, right? We are lazy and we are unstructured and things like that. There is a women mindset. There is a kid mindset. There is a hacker's mindset. Politician's mindset. Why do we associate these names? Because we want to group a collective set of behaviors that are ingrained into that persona or a character so that we can relate to that person. Think like a hacker. Think like a tester. Think like a politician. Right? So there are mindsets associated with these characters that we are aware of. It's a template. In that template, everybody behaves. Now, if I give a template to you, if I assign a template to you, which means that you ought to believe or you ought to behave like that. That is the idea of mindset. In summary of this slide, mindset characterizes you. Popular tester characterization. Somebody who breaks, negative, that bad guy who is sitting in that corner who does always bad things, comes in a way between work and a release. Gatekeeper, that process guy who does this, though process guy doesn't do testing, but we have that stigma. Last one, dumb script executor. His job is, there are test cases given to him, he executes the test cases. That guy is a tester. Right? These are all characterization which we have to break, which we have to come up. There is something which is deeper than this characterization. So here I am going to present my characterization I am talking about. One characterization. Good testing mindset indulges in divergent and evaluative thinking. Convergent thinking is from some known conditions, you go to another known condition. Typically developers do that. My very crude example, which I am still thinking about, is if you give a recipe list of things, you will be able to make a food item. Big to small. Known condition to known output. In testing, you go opposite. That recipe that is made, the food that is made is given to you and you need to evaluate, which means you go like this. Divergent thinking is the base of all the testing mindset that we want to look at here. In some cases, in the divergent, we take a convergent route and say that only finding a bugs is my mindset, so you think like that, and that restricts your thinking and utility as a tester. Evaluative. Remember, whether you find a bug, you generate information, you do anything, the primary, at a very high level thinking of a tester is to evaluate stuff that is given to him. What if stuff is not given to him? He can't evaluate anything. If you don't have any product to test, you have nothing to test. So you start from something given to you, reach up to a point where somebody will ask you, stop now, testing time is over, give me the results. That's the result. So you are still in somewhere in that tunnel of outgoing divergent thinking. Two models that I have thought about. Is a hierarchy of traits. The mindset is a hierarchy of traits where in the top, in the very bottom level, we have this what is very familiar to us. Skeptic, negative, destructive. But if you keep on adding it on the top level thing is you are thinking divergent, you are thinking in an evaluative way, hence you are able to perform the roles of being skeptic, being destructive, being evaluative. Second model, this is what we are talking about as a two cones merged together. One side you have convergence, where from a known state you go to end state, other is the divergent. Person making a recipe is starting from a convergent end. A wine tester is a divergent. Though wine tester is a simplified job that he has a way to rate and give, but our tester job is a little more complicated. In our job as a tester, we oscillate between these two minds. At the middle point where there is some amount of convergent, some amount of divergent, that's where good testing mindset operates. Divergent thinking in practice, how do we do? Examples of all this. When you